some pop singer from a different country would request a bunch of our soldiers to use as props.
Yeah, and I wouldn't care if it was Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, or Justin Singh.
Remember Harjit Singh, the defense minister who misappropriated Canadian military personnel to retrieve non-Canadians from Afghanistan, leaving Canadians behind to die? Yeah, that guy. Well, he also asked the armed forces recently to have 100 soldiers perform with a Punjabi star at a concert. No, we're not kidding.
Let's take a look.
Cabinet Minister Harjit Singh requested 100 soldiers to perform with Punjabi pop star Diljit Dosanjh.
Emergency Preparedness Minister Harjit Singh lobbied in April for the Canadian Armed Forces to send about 100 soldiers to act as backdrops at a Vancouver concert by Punjabi star Diljit Dosanjh, one of India's most popular singers and actors. Mr. Sajan's office confirmed that he received a request on April 15th from the singer's manager, Sonali Singh, for Canadian soldiers to participate in his April 27th sold-out performance at BC Place. The following day, Mr. Sajan sent a letter dated April 16th from the manager, quote-unquote, along with his endorsement, to Defense Minister Bill Blair, Mr. Sajan's press secretary, Johannes Kangi, said. National Defense said Mr. Blair then forwarded the request to Canadian Armed Forces commanders, who rejected the idea of having soldiers serve as backdrops at Mr. Dosanjh's concert. A military source said the request was for 100 soldiers. The Globe and Mail is not identifying the officer, who is not authorized to discuss the matter. Ms. Kanga said Mr. Singh makes no apologies for his support for the Punjabi pop star's request. Quote, Diljit Dosanjh is the biggest pop star Punjabi artist in the world and was on the verge of making history as the first Punjabi artist to sell out a concert at one of the largest stadiums in Vancouver, end quote, Ms. Kanga said.
Quote, Minister Singh agreed the concert would be a good opportunity for the Canadian Armed Forces to engage with and expand connections to a diverse community of young Canadians along the lines of the CAF outreach and recruiting events at professional sporting events, end quote. The Office of the Minister of National Defence, quote, provided the letter to the Canadian Armed Forces, which determined that meeting this request would not be feasible due to the tight timeline and personnel availability, end quote, Lieutenant Commander Linda Coleman said in a statement to the Globe. Quote, additionally, it is crucial that participation in such events does not impact domestic and international operations, and our operational readiness must be sustained at all times, end quote, she said. The Defense Minister did not push back at the refusal to comply with Mr. Sajan's request, Lieutenant Commander Coleman said in the statement. Quote, the Office of the Minister of National Defence promptly acknowledged and thanked the Canadian Armed Forces for its assessment, thus concluding the matter, end quote. Mr. Dosanjh has been a vocal critic of India's ruling government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, lending his support in 2020 to Punjab and Haryana farmers who held mass protests after the Modi government brought in reforms to open the highly regulated farming sector to private players. At the time, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was accused by the Modi government of making quote-unquote ill-informed comments when he criticized how the police had clashed with the protesters.
So there's a lot to go into there. Maybe I'll start at the end where the Prime Minister was criticizing the Indian government and how their police were clashing with protesters. What does that sound like?
You know, it's like that episode of The Simpsons where Marge is criticizing Homer for something and he's like, but it's cute when I do it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's cute when Trudeau does it. It's cute when he arrests protesters for lawfully protesting.
It's cute when Freeland shuts down their bank accounts.
Yeah, and giggles and laughs about it. Like, come on.
In case you guys can't tell, that was 100% sarcasm.
Yeah, / sarcasm. But this is the thing that just, like, this guy has no shame. And he was, quote unquote, in the military. Allegedly the mastermind of a planning an operation, which was then proven to not be the case, that he completely lied about it. But dude, our military doesn't have the resources as it is, and you want 100 of them to stand there looking like a bunch of knobs while a guy not even from this country performs.
Well, like, this is such a weird request to me. Admittedly, I don't have any experience in the armed forces, nor do I know anybody who's in the armed forces, like, personally, so I can't ask them. But this seems like a very, very strange request to me, that some pop singer from a different country would request a bunch of our soldiers to use as props.
Yeah, like, and I wouldn't care if it was Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, or Justin Singh. Like, I don't care. This is not how you respect our military.
Right. It just seems like, number one, a huge waste of resources. And number two, it seems like you're, like, degrading them. Here, stand here and don't do anything, but just stand there and I'll, perform my set or whatever.
Yeah. And it's like they're inanimate objects as part of the set.
It seems disgraceful, really. I mean, those of you who are in the military or have been in the military, please let us know if we're overreacting, if we're misunderstanding. But this seems like a huge issue to me. It seems very, what's the word? Uncouth, maybe?
Like, the only thing that I would be okay with is if at the beginning of this show, they paraded out the 100 military people and thanked them for their service. And then they got to go and sit down and watch the concert.
Yeah, because, I mean, any other way you do it, it just seems cheap and disrespectful.
Right. They're saying you're not as important, right? You're the people that lay your lives on the line for this country, but you're going to stand behind this guy who, and I don't have any problem with the guy, but he's a pop singer. Well, who cares?
And should our military resources be used for art? Because that's essentially what this is, right? It's art, it's music. Should we be using those resources as an art piece?
Well, and Sajan and his team references the fact that, the military and professional sporting events have, kind of this relationship, this outreach relationship. That makes more sense to me, because in sporting events, you can kind of see the connection there, because it's competitive events. It is, in some case, violent competitive events, whether it's football or hockey or stuff like that. And there's this camaraderie and team mentality when it comes to sporting events that transfers over into the military. But when you're talking about a concert, I'm sorry, I don't get it, and I don't support it, and I think it's disrespectful. That would be, imagine if the Blue Jays called up the military and said, can we get 1,000 of your guys to stand at the warning track for the entirety of the baseball game? That would be great. That would be the equivalent here. And it would be just as disrespectful. But anyhow, so Sajan obviously didn't like this article that the Globe and Mail put out. So he decided to respond. But he didn't respond to the Globe and Mail. He responded to the CBC.
Oh, of course he picked the CBC.
Yeah. They're on the payroll. Why not? So, anyhow, let's take a look. Sajan defends request to use soldiers as backdrop for Diljit Dosanjh concert.
Canada's Emergency Preparedness Minister is defending an official request he made to use Canadian soldiers as a backdrop for a concert by Punjabi pop star Diljit Dosanjh, one of India's biggest actors and singers. As first reported in the Globe and Mail, Harjit Singh received a letter mid-April asking if Canadian Armed Forces, or CAF, members would participate in Dosanjh's show in Vancouver on April 27th. According to a statement from Sajan's office, the minister then forwarded the request, quote, along with his endorsement, end quote, to Minister of National Defense Bill Blair, who passed the request on to the CAF. The statement said Sajan paid for tickets to the show for his family with his own money and joined them at the Vancouver event. Kanga told CBC News that Sajan endorsed the request, which ended up being denied because Dosanjh, quote, is the biggest Punjabi artist in the world, end quote, and the artist's tour was, quote, a major cultural event and a moment of pride for Canadians of Punjabi descent, end quote. Quote, as the MP for Vancouver South and minister responsible for the Pacific Economic Development Agency of Canada, Minister Sajan will continue to support historical achievements with great economic and cultural benefits for Vancouver, end quote, Kanga said.
So, Justin Trudeau, not one to be outdone, stopped by the Rogers Centre for one of Dosanjh's shows on his tour. He says, stop by the Rogers Centre to wish at Diljit Dosanjh good luck before his show. Canada is a great country. One where a guy from Punjab can make history and sell out stadiums. Diversity isn't just our strength, it's a superpower. Yeah, it's a superpower.
Well, I mean, it just seems kind of weird to me that the Prime Minister's like bragging about meeting celebrities and stuff. You know who you should be bragging about is meeting with regular people, regular Canadians who do all sorts of things for our country, you know, like our armed forces.
Or sitting down with somebody like, I don't know, Kate Alexander. Maybe that. And actually hearing what she has to say after his reprehensible caucus acted reprehensibly in committee, shutting down her story and her opportunity to inform our government on how to deal with domestic violence abusers. How about that? But no, to Tanya's point, he always has to get in and meet all the celebrities and the stars, and they kind of have to meet him because he's the Prime Minister of Canada.
Yeah, you can't really say no, how much you dislike the guy. You have to kind of say yes, unfortunately.
But, you know, this is what Trudeau does and has been demonstrated to do over and over again. It's like the only reason he's Prime Minister is to use that so he could meet celebrities and take pictures with them. That's almost what it feels like. Because he doesn't want to seem to do the actual job.
No, he doesn't at all.
He's taken more vacation days than, you know, people that are unemployed. Like, seriously. And the fact that he allows his ministers to just make these stupid requests and abuse the resources of our already depleted military, I don't have any words. I don't have any words anymore for this Liberal government. It's time to go.